I asked a model for a source to back up a claim, and it gave me a perfect one. A real sounding author, a real sounding journal, a year, even a page number. So I went to look the paper up, and it wasn't there. The model hadn't found a source, it had invented one, and it sounded completely sure the entire time. So why does a machine make things up and sound just as confident as when it's actually right? We call this hallucination when a model states something false as if it were plain fact. And here is the question I want to land by the end of this episode. When a model makes something up, it sounds exactly as confident as when it's telling the truth. So why can't it tell the difference? By the end, you'll see that this isn't a glitch that slipped into the machine. It's the same machinery you've already watched in this course, doing exactly what it was trained to do. Let's start with what the model is really doing when it answers, because it's not what it looks like from the outside. When you read its reply, it feels like it just knows the answer and says it. But that's not what's happening underneath. It never simply hands you a word. Take a plain prompt, something like the capital of Francis. Before the model commits to anything, it looks at every possible next word and gives each one a score. Then it lays those scores out as a spread, where a taller bar means the model rates that word a more likely continuation. For this particular prompt, the picture is easy to read. One bar towers over the whole page, the word Paris, and everything else is almost flat against the floor. Those scores are probabilities, and the full spread always adds up to 1, the same sort mark step we saw a few episodes back. So really the model is saying, I'm almost certain the next word is Paris, and I barely believe in anything else. Then it samples from that spread, the tall bar wins, and out comes the answer you read. Hold on to that, because the answer was never a fact the model looked up, it was the winner of a little contest between words. Now here is the part that explains the whole episode, and it takes us straight back to how the model was trained. Think back to the last episode, to what pre-training actually rewards. The model read an enormous amount of text, and its one job was to predict the next word and get scored on whether it matched what really came next. Notice what was never in that job. Nobody ever checked whether the sentence it produced was true. The reward was for sounding like the text it learned from, and truth was never measured on its own. That's worth sitting with for a second, because it sounds almost too simple to matter. So think about what that kind of training actually builds. It builds a machine that's extremely good at producing text that looks like it belongs. Plausible is the target from the first day of training to the last. When the plausible next word and the true next word happen to be the same, you get a correct answer, like Paris. But nothing in the training ever forced those two to be the same word. They line up most of the time, which is exactly why these models are so useful, and most of the time is not always. So let's go back to my fake citation and run the very same machine on a question it doesn't actually know. I asked for the author of one specific study, and the model reached the spot in the sentence where a name has to go. Watch the spread it draws at that spot. There's no towering bar this time. Instead, there's a whole cluster of names, all plausible, all sitting at roughly the same modest height. That happens because plenty of names would fit a sentence like this one, so the model's belief gets spread thin across all of them. And crucially, nothing lifts the real author's name above the crowd, because that fact was never stored in the model to begin with. But the machine still has to pick a next word, since picking a next word is the only thing it knows how to do. So it draws one of the names from that cluster and writes it down. And that right there is the moment a citation gets invented. The name it landed on is a perfectly plausible continuation, so it reads smooth and sure, exactly the way Paris did. It only happens to be false because plausible and true went their separate ways the instant the real fact was missing. Same machine, same steps, same confidence, but one prompt gave a single spike and the other gave a flat little crowd. The model didn't decide to lie to me, it just did the only thing it does, and this time the plausible word wasn't the true one. Here is the thing that trips almost everyone up, and it's the center of the whole idea. When the model gives you Paris and when it gives you that invented author, the last step is identical. Both times it looked at its spread, drew a word from it, and wrote it out with the exact same smooth delivery. The confidence you hear is just how a finished sentence sounds, not a sign that the model verified anything. And this is the key point. So let me put it as plainly as I can. The model has no separate step that stops and asks, is this actually true? There is no truth meter anywhere in the machine. There's only the spread of what's plausible. A tall bar means this word fits well here, and that's a completely different thing from this word is correct. So the model can't flag the wrong answer for you because it never measured wrongness in the first place. From the inside, a confident truth and a confident guess are the very same event. The uncertainty was real back when the bars were a flat crowd, but that uncertainty gets thrown away the moment one word is chosen and written out fluently. So when someone says a model hallucinated, it sounds like a part failed somewhere. But nothing failed. The same machinery that nails Paris is the machinery that invented my citation, and both times it worked exactly as trained. A model that stays fluent even when it's guessing is the natural result of training a thing to sound plausible above all else. Now, this is not where the story ends, and the next few episodes are all about pushing back on this. Later, training can teach a model to grow a bar for "I'm not sure" instead of always committing to the top guess. And you can hand the model a real document to read before it answers, so that a true bar finally has something solid to stand on. Both of those moves shrink the problem a lot, and modern models are much better for them. But neither one erases it, because underneath it's still a machine sampling from what's plausible. So let's answer the question we opened with. Why does a model sound just as sure when it's wrong as when it's right? Because it's doing the very same thing every single time, laying out what's plausible and drawing from it. It was never trained to feel the difference between true and plausible, so it can't show you a difference it never learned. The confident wrong answer and the confident right answer roll off the exact same assembly line. Once you can see that, the fabricated citation stops being spooky and starts being obvious. That's why I told you at the start this isn't a bug. It's simply what a next word predictor does when the true answer isn't sitting at the top of the pile. Next time we start fixing it by taking this raw text predictor and turning it into something that actually tries to help you. That's where a model stops just continuing text and starts behaving like an assistant.